Welcome! This is what is happening on the Sun today, the 22nd of May 2011. 42 years ago today, Apollo 10 passed within 10 kilometers of the surface of the Moon. But do you know what was adopted as the mission's mascot? Answer at the end. The Sun has remained very quiet. We have 4 numbered regions on the disk. 1214 is just on the limb and will be gone by tomorrow. 1216 remains a single large spot. 1218 is a small, disorganized group. And the newly numbered region, which I mentioned yesterday, up in the northeast, is 1219. We do have a small region developing just trailing region 1214, but its growth is relatively small and the spots are rather weak. There is a small spot coming over the east limb in the south, but again I don't think it's going to amount to very much. Let's take a look at the development of the region using the SDO data. In the White Light movie you may be able to see the development of this new region following 1214, but it is still very small and weak. Similarly, in the magnetic movie you see most of the regions are very large and diffuse and don't have very strong magnetic fields associated with them. So all in all, I don't think that the prospects for major new activity are very high. This perspective is borne out when you look at the GOES X-ray plot. You can see that the background remains at about the A7 level, which is very, very low, and there have been no significant events in the last 48 hours. Let's hope there's been some eruptions of some filaments to keep life interesting. For that we go to the helium-304 movie from the SDO AIA instrument, although unfortunately there haven't been. Although the filaments in the southeast do look very pregnant for lifting off, but as we have seen before, predicting their liftoff is a very dicey business. In the 171 angstrom coronal movie, even when there's not very much going on, there seems to be a lot going on. I must admit I never get tired of looking at these images, I just think they're exquisite. So let's take a look at the SOHO coronagraph data. First the large field of view C3 instrument, followed by the smaller field of view C2 instrument. And unfortunately, apart from the remnants of the events we saw yesterday, there's nothing much going on. We do see the demise of the comet, and I promise this will be the last time I talk about the wretched thing. If you look at one of the earlier frames, you can see that the comet has a well-defined coma and tail. In fact, the length of the tail is longer than the diameter of the Sun, which means the comet was over 1.5 million kilometers long. However, just a couple of hours later, just before the comet disappears behind the occulting disk, the coma, the bright head of the comet, has disappeared. This means that the comet was vaporized long before it actually reached the Sun, and is now just an integral part of the solar corona. So what has been the effect of all this lack of activity on geospace? Well, the answer is not very much. If we look at the solar wind, the best description of it is highly variable. The NOAA 15 data tells us that the auroral zone has been very quiet, and the KP index has been varying between 0 and 3. So in summary then, the sunspot number has risen to 44, the X-ray background remains at about A7 level, radio sun is at 84 solar flux units, the solar wind speed remains steady at about 440 kilometers per second, but its density has increased to over 2 protons per cubic centimeter, and the KP index is still rated as quiet. So my forecast will remain pretty much as yesterday, with a low chance of getting any form of flaring activity. The sunspot number will remain fairly low. CMEs are still possible, if not likely, but the chance of getting a major geomagnetic storm is very low. In the longer term we're expecting some of the bright regions on the backside of the Sun to return in 4 or 5 days' time. But until then, or unless we get some new major growth, activity will remain fairly low. If you want more detail about what's going on, check out some of the links in the description box below. If you want to see earlier editions of The Sun Today, go to my channel and they're linked in there, as are some of my videos about global warming, which you might find fun to listen to. There are some excellent NOAA and NASA sites that are worth checking out. I bet you thought I'd forgotten to give you the answer to the question that I posed earlier. Well, in actual fact I did, but here it is anyway. The mascot adopted by Apollo 10 was Snoopy, and it is rumoured that when they opened the hatch after splashdown, they were greeted with, "Hello there, Charlie Brown." Well, that's all for today. Keep safe. Bye for now.